Ever since Apple was founded, Steve Jobs always presented it as a rebel, as a tool to fight the big brother. Well, he even created the iconic 1984 Super Bowl ad for Apple, with the theme being fighting the Orwellian nightmare. But is it what Apple has always stood for? Do the actions of this trillion-dollar corporation match its brand perception? The answer is a big fat no.
In other news, Spotify has filed an antitrust complaint in the EU against Apple. The music streaming service claims that Apple has abused the dominance of its App Store and used it to favor its own music service, Apple Music, over Spotify.
Let me tell you a story about how Spotify, the music streaming platform, had to fight for its existence on iOS. It was the year 2015 and Apple had launched Apple Music. The biggest threat to them was this 9-year-old Swedish company, Spotify. To understand the situation better, we need to understand the revenue model for both the apps. Well, Spotify is a simple subscription platform with a freemium revenue model where the user has two options. Option A, install the app, log in and simply listen to the music for free. The catch is that every once in a while there will be an ad playing and also a few features are not available for them. In this part, the ads which are interrupting the user play a pivotal role. A, they might slightly irritate the user and might motivate them to buy premium, or B, the business that wants Spotify to play the ads, they will pay a certain amount of fee based on the agreement. The second way the app makes money is when the user buys the premium subscription. Apple Music does have a similar revenue model, but iTunes had a slightly different one. With iTunes, the user had to pay for a single or an album based on their choice. This means the user did not have to commit to a full subscription. But with a growing trend of subscription and premium models, Apple decided to introduce Apple Music, their own subscription-based music streaming service. Now that we have understood their revenue models, let's explore why Spotify decided to sue Apple for anti-competitive practices. So basically, Spotify's main concern was that the Apple's policies were creating an environment where Apple Music had an unfair advantage over competitors. So Spotify claimed that the Apple was using the App Store to force third-party apps to accept unfavorable terms or face being shut out from the platform altogether. Considering that there are around 2 billion Apple devices and around 15% market penetration pretty much all across the globe, giving up these many customers is not logical and definitely not profitable. And if we check out the App Store, we can see that there are approximately 1 billion downloads for Spotify. Considering a 200 million user base, Spotify does seem to have a big chunk of its users using Apple. Does this mean Spotify gave up and caved into the tech giant's demands? Well, the answer is no. They did what any startup worth its dime does the best. It innovated, figured out workarounds and became number 1 in free music app downloads on iPhone and number 23 in all free apps as of today. How did they do it? The biggest change they incorporated was integrating their app with Siri. Apple's Siri voice assistant is deeply embedded into the iPhone and all the other Apple products, which gives Apple Music a clear advantage in terms of voice-controlled music management. For example, Apple users can simply say, "Hey Siri, play music," and Siri will play music from Apple Music. To counter this, Spotify integrated its app with Siri, allowing users to ask Siri to play music from Spotify. For example, the user can say, "Hey Siri, play this song on Spotify," and the song will be played using Spotify. The second thing that Spotify did was to figure out a way to bypass the in-app purchases. Spotify seems to encourage the users to purchase their premium subscription on their site and not in-app. And yes, this is legal and it does not violate Apple Store guidelines. According to the store policy, apps can't promote external payment methods within the app itself, like a button that says pay on our website. However, apps can still inform the users that they can go to a website to sign up. So Spotify used this to their advantage and has bypassed the 30% commission to a great extent. The unfair advantage legal conflict is still ongoing and it's not concluded yet. But this shouldn't stop us from taking a couple lessons from this case study. The first thing is that the brand perception is far more important than what you actually do. For those who don't know, brand perception is what people think about your brand. You might be something else altogether, but if you can convince the masses that your brand is something, then that something is your brand perception. Apple may have posed as a rebel against the big corporations, but in reality, they are the big corporations who have the power to crush the small startups. Do they use it to crush the little players? Well, that's something you are going to decide for yourself. The second thing that we can learn from this is that the only way for a business to survive in this world is innovation. If something is blocking you and it seems like there is no workaround, there's always a window that you can open. And in Spotify's case, it was a literal browser window to pay for a subscription. Especially in a world which has a possibility of AI being used pretty much everywhere, a company that does not innovate is bound to disappear into oblivion. If you think that content like this is something you'd like, please make sure to subscribe to us and we will keep bringing more such content your way.